I hope you didn't mind that too much.
No, not at all. No, I signed up for it, so for some reason it was unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah, and before we jump in, I've already mentioned it. Yeah, I think about a month or so ago, everybody who ever supported me in this kind of work, they all did it for free. And so I feel like, I'm going to do the same thing for free. And so I have just decided that I'll organize my life in such a way that I don't have to charge for this kind of work. And so if you find the session useful and you'd like to work one-on-one, because one-on-one sessions, in my experience, do tend to be more powerful because they are really focused on one person's experience, feel free to reach out and we can schedule some time. And there's more info on my website, jakeyeager.com, that with more details and what the sessions are like. But I mean, they're not much different than what we do here. It's just focused on one person's experience. So anybody have any questions about any of that before we dive into inquiry? All right. Yeah. And so anybody have anything that you want to dig into today? Any issues around inquiry? Could be issues that you're having with inquiry or issues of the illusion that maybe you feel stuck or you feel like you might be missing something or whatnot. We can see what comes up.
I have some lingering thoughts and or feelings kind of where we left off last time.
Okay.
We were talking about kind of the fight or flight experience when dealing in social situations. I think that was one of the things that triggered kind of the active or dynamic meditations that we were talking about, kind of releasing trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And as I was kind of contemplating and realizing where that was stemming from, it's something that's happening way before that moment. I realized that in doing all these efforts, and each time I'm sitting down in meditation, I am adding coins or energy to what I would refer to as a hope monster.
Okay. Yep.
As in, there is this sense of hope that somebody else is going to show up in these social situations.
Yep.
Rather than being there and experiencing through it and getting out the other side, it was hoping that an entirely different being was going to show up.
Yeah. Yep.
And that level of disappointment only made that fight or flight even more intense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that has been an interesting thing to untangle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And what would you like to have happen today, Raymond?
Honestly, for me, this is really, again, just back to getting those reps and having clarity whilst in these situations, sitting with that fight or flight response rather than reacting to it.
Mm-hmm. And whether there is fight or flight response or not, whether there's clarity or not, is this already fulfilled?
That is the crux of the issue, is that everything is already fulfilled. It is understanding how much bandwidth has been spent wishing things were different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
like
a lot.
Yeah. Are you guys getting a lot of background noise? I have somebody vacuuming in the background.
That's fine.
If you do, let me know. And so, Raymond, so I guess there is a thought that can arise that, oh, I want this to be different, or this should be different than it is. Is that the case?
Yes and no. It feels like ever since seeing it, It's almost like being able to see through it. Kind of like seeing that the rope is a rope and not a snake, sort of thing.
And when you say it, what kind of it?
The changes in energy, just
okay.
the fact that this is happening, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and what is that changes in energy?
Just the flow of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is there anything right or wrong with the flow of life?
No, that it can't be.
No, there can't be, right? Because what is right or wrong?
Judgment.
Right? It's just a thought, right? Yeah, it's just part of what's happening. I mean, there can even be thoughts about how this is absolutely effing terrible, but that's also, just what's happening, just a thought arising. Is there anything behind thoughts, Raymond?
Behind. That feels like the wrong question.
Okay. Is there anything that thoughts point to?
I think thoughts point to the experience of selfing.
Mm-hmm. And is the experience of selfing a thing?
It's just another happening.
Mm-hmm. And is another happening a thing?
Well, there are no separate things, so I would say no.
And what is this right now, Raymond, if it's not labeled anything?
Just pure suchness.
Yeah. And what's it like?
I would describe it as serene, which has historically triggered an attachment to that feeling. But I don't know how else to describe it. Although I think this is where the wisdom of impermanence comes in. The serenity is going to be there, and eventually it'll not, and then it'll be back. I mean, it's all just a flow.
Yeah. Is there an up or down?
No,
No. Is there a left or right?
no,
How about a front or back?
no.
What are you?
That question triggers all kinds of esoteric responses, like "I am truth." Um, Consciousness.
What can be said that is perfectly true about consciousness?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Is this always at rest no matter what's happening?
Oddly, yes. There is nowhere to go or nothing to do.
Yeah. But there seemed to be apparent movement. But at the same time,
It feels like the analogy I've heard a million times of like the hollow bamboo or flute. Like there is action and energy happening on a plane of nothingness.
Mm-hmm. What kind of plane of nothingness?
I think that is consciousness is that.
Hmm. And what happens if you don't label it plane of nothingness?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, intuitively, it would suggest to me that even that label is a problem or a potential situation.
Mm-hmm. Where does this body mind appear, Raymond?
Consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And is this body mind the same or different from consciousness?
It's still all one, or not two.
And is consciousness more primary than this body mind?
So that's interesting. I would say no, but I would think if you had asked me this last week, I would say it was prior.
But it's not, is
But
it?
it's not, which is interesting. That's fascinating.
Is there any such thing as independent consciousness?
No.
No. Is there any such thing as a background?
How do you mean?
A background to what's happening? Is there any such thing as a background to what's happening?
No.
No. There's just what's happening, isn't there?
Yes.
And where is Raymond among all of this?
The mental construct? I don't. Not there.
Was Raymond ever there?
No.
No.
These conversations are different when had with another person.
What
A lot of
kind of?
the things we're discussing have been thoughts that have been roaming around my head, but to have the back and forth it hits differently.
What kind of differently?
I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just feels like it has more an effect on it. Well, no, to be honest, and it sounds sort of feels woo woo to say, but it feels like there's a reorganization happening as we're speaking, and I don't. You know, words are clumsy, but it just has a specific tone to it that is different.
Yeah. That's because I wore a special deodorant this morning.
Wow, that is powerful to get through the camera and all that. Who knows?
Yeah, it's speed stick. It makes it apparently happen faster.
Fantastic.
What questions do you have, Raymond?
Not really anything. It's just this noticing of things that just aren't arising in the same way that they did. Like this need to control, specifically in social situations. And all of a sudden it's the feeling of noticing something not being there.
Yeah. One other question, Raymond.
Shoot.
Is there anything that arises and falls?
Ooh. So no, it's all just happening.
Is there anything that's just happening?
No.
Just the label, right? It's another interpretive label. It doesn't refute doesn't refute this.
See, that is interesting because it has that feeling that that's what you're doing.
It's just an antidote because we tend to believe that something is happening, so we're oriented in this extreme of something is happening. So I invite you to consider, is that the case? And the mind wants to go, oh, he's saying nothing is happening. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm actually not saying anything. I'm just asking a question.
Now you sound like Donald Trump.
Thank you. Okay.
I was sitting inquiring this morning, doing self-inquiry. And so part of the time I was sitting there being aware of thoughts and sensations and the sense of self. And then part of the time I was kind of lost in thought. And then when I sort of came back to myself, what I found myself wondering about was, so the first thing I described was sitting there sort of noticing thoughts and sense of self. It felt like, yeah, there was a sort of a sense of self. Although I guess what I was looking for was to lose that and just be in pure awareness. But then when I was lost in thought, reflecting back on it or remembering back on it, it felt like there wasn't a sense of self then. But when it was happening, I wasn't conscious of there not being or there was no consciousness of there being no self there. So I sort of found myself sort of thinking that I was in this rather paradoxical pair of states, where the one when I was sort of sitting there aware and present was not a non-dual state. But then when I got lost in thought, it kind of was, except I wasn't aware of it being so. So I've just been sort of wondering about that and trying to make sense of it. Because it felt like, yes, I can have a non-dual experience, but only if I'm not aware of it. Well, or until later, but then that's not being aware. That's just later. That's a memory. So I'd be interested if anyone has any comments or observations on that.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Can you have a non-dual experience?
No, I can't. But that there can be a non-dual experience. Although I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that I've ever had one. I've had things that have felt in that direction. Moments of awe and wonder. Out in nature, or sometimes doing sort of meditating on awareness and such like. So I think I've had sort of glimpses.
What about this right now, Mike, is not non-dual?
I guess that there's a sense of there's me and everything else. And I can sort of get intellectually that, well, actually everything is non-dual, and it's not possible to have anything else. But in this moment, and in most moments, but in most moments where I'm sort of present and aware of being present, then it's not non-dual. There's this sort of strange sense that, in a way, when I'm lost in thought, which feels like not exactly a bad thing, but not what this should be about, that actually that is a kind of non-dual experience, because there is the sense of self falls away, and there is just images and imaginings and thoughts.
I'm sorry, there's images and imaginings and thoughts when
I'm sort of lost in thought.
What's funny about this, Mike, is my mind was thinking about how to respond, and so I had to ask you to repeat yourself because I didn't catch exactly.
Right. So you were doing the same thing of being lost in thought. Yes.
Yeah. But is there anything wrong with that, Mike?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. But it was this sort of, so when I'm sitting meditating, when I'm sitting doing self-inquiry, I guess I have an agenda, which is to see through the sense of self, to realize that it's just another.
Hey, Mike, where is the sense of self right now?
I think it's in the sort of the body mind. It's just the sense of having a sort of a physical sort of presence, and I suppose a point of view as well.
Okay. And is there a specific location in the body mind?
It sort of varies depending on where my attention is.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And what is it that's observing the sense of self?
Awareness, consciousness.
And what is that?
Well, it's something that seems less real than the body mind. And I think that's one of the things I've been struggling with for a while, or engaged with for a while, is the body mind is much more, in a way, sort of foreground and obvious, whereas awareness, which, you know, intellectually I know, well, there wouldn't be anything without awareness, but there is something about its fineness, its subtlety, which makes it less real somehow.
And is the body mind the same or different than awareness?
It's something that appears within awareness. It's not the same in that it's not always there, although, you know, so I sort of know it appears within awareness, but when it's appearing, it feels real.
I'm sorry, when what appears, the body mind or awareness?
Yeah, when the sense of self or the body mind appears in awareness, it sort of feels, I guess, more real than the awareness it arises in.
Is there any boundary, Mike, right now in experience?
No, there isn't.
No. Is there any boundary where, in experience, where one part of the experience is more real than any other?
No, it's all equally real.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that ever not the case?
No, that's always the case. Whatever is real.
Yeah. So the thought, the body mind is more real than awareness. What is that?
Well, it is a thought, but at the same time, it's a kind of of experience. You know, it's if I sort of just in the moment now just tune into what is, it's like sort of the contents of awareness feels more real, I suppose, in the sense that it's more concrete, more graspable than the awareness of it. And I know that I'm making a kind of artificial separation here in that the contents of awareness couldn't be here without there being awareness. But it kind of feels like it could almost. It's like, yeah, no, there's the contents and then there's awareness.
What happens if you drop the label contents? What is there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it just certainly becomes more just what is.
And that label is just an overlay, isn't it?
So the label's just
an overlay.
Right. Yes. Yes.
What is includes the body mind, doesn't it, Mike?
So what
is includes the body mind, doesn't it?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
It does. And the body mind is just as real or unreal as everything else, no? What are you, Mike?
Yeah, I am this. I am what's here, what is.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else that can be said about that, Mike?
No, not really. No, there is nothing else.
No.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jake. That was
Mm-hmm.
interesting and helpful.
Sure.
Thanks. And I'll leave in about 5 minutes' time.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I'll just stay a little longer, but good to be with everyone. And thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day and time with your lovely wife.
Thanks very much, Raymond. Thanks, guys.
Mike, what's her name, if I may ask?
Trish. So
Trish?
Patricia, but
Oh,
Trish.
Patricia. Oh, great.
Yeah, Trish is what she is known as.
Something Mike said triggered a cavalcade of thoughts and emotions.
Good job, Mike.
No, these are
Wasn't me.
navigate the forest if you never go in it. He referred to being lost in his thoughts and not being a bad thing, and that made me jealous or triggered feelings of jealousy, but also without the suffering, I don't know that I would have dug so hard into finding. Like, it's almost like the suffering is kind of a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And that expands to pushing myself into these uncomfortable situations. Has actually created an energy, or creates this. This is not fully fleshed out. There's something. Yes.
Never mind.
Touche.
Sorry, I interrupted to not ask a question. What were you going to say, Raymond?
I
wasn't fully fleshed out. Then you were going to say something.
It's interesting the way when present in challenging situations for the body, mind, I think necessitates I don't feel like I'm afforded the room to be floating around in unawareness for extended periods of time. And that's not really good or bad, it just is.
Sarisha, do you have any questions?
When we spoke, you said that everything is concept. So I wanted to understand, like, so without concept, the I doesn't exist, and with the concept, I mean, with the concept, the I exists, and without the concept, the I doesn't exist. Or So the I is still trying to understand that this concept is only there. So that is what I'm still trying to digest. I'm not able to. It's not allowing me to take. I don't know what is happening.
Your mic's lovely heavier.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Take care.
Mike. Happy anniversary.
Surisha, in experience right now, can you find an I? No. Is there ever an I there, Surisha? No, there isn't. So the I is referenced in thoughts, right? Yeah. But it's just a thought, just a concept, and that's what I meant when I said just a concept. And so thoughts that reference an I come up. But what is that I thought referencing?
Mm, I didn't understand your question. Like, I thought reference.
Yeah, so thoughts that contain the word I come up, right? Yeah. And what does that thought I refer to?
Mm. It's funny. Yeah.
It's just a thought, isn't it? So whether there's the thought I or not, is there actually an I? No, it's just a thought. Surisha, what can be said about this? Nothing, right? No, nothing that's adequate. Yeah. Do you have any other questions, Surisha?
No, that's the only one I had. So,
I have one piggybacking on that question. There is an I that is attached to my thoughts. For lack of a better term, it feels like it precedes all my thoughts. But then there is, when doing self-inquiry and asking, who am I? It feels like there is a response. And that response is, I am all inclusive. So it's almost, it feels like the real life example of the statement, wisdom tells me that I'm nothing, and was it the heart or love tells me that I'm everything? So it's like there's a sensation of being an I and no I all at the same time.
Is there a question? Maybe I missed it.
No, I was just thinking it through, and there might have been a
Okay.
question. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Often I will fall out of awareness when working through these things, specifically in front of other people.
Question. Where's the I that is all inclusive?
The feeling is of a center. It feels like it's central to the heart. It genuinely feels like it is in my heart center. I don't know if what that is or what it's not, but that is the sensation that gets triggered.
Okay.
Is
that sensation you?
No. Well, no, the sensation, no.
Mm-hmm. So what are you?
Dog, it's still back to consciousness.
Okay.
I is consciousness.
Mm. Mm. And what happens if you don't label consciousness I? What if there really is no I in any form whatsoever? And that's always the case. It doesn't have to be seen through because there's nothing to be seen through.
So is it possible to see an I without seeing a separate I?
You tell me.
I'm going to need to sit with that one.
Okay. What is this?
What is what?
This.
The counterpart to that?
What is that?
The unmanifest.
Hmm. Is that the same or different than the manifest?
It's all one.
Hmm. Where is the manifest?
Here.
Hmm. And what is the manifest?
Whatever I sense.
Hmm. And where does the manifest come from?
The unmanifest.
Hmm. Hmm. Can you show me the unmanifest without the manifest?
Can I show you?
Can you point to it?
No.
No. Can you show me the manifest coming out of the unmanifest?
Not in any way, shape, or form.
So does the manifest emerge from the unmanifest?
Can you repeat that?
So does the manifest emerge from the unmanifest?
I don't know. If things are being created, they have to come from somewhere.
Are things being created?
No, no separate things.
Hmm. Are things being created?
No.
They're not, are they? So is anything actually emerging?
Does change not emerge?
Show me change.
I would move.
I love to see the
Oh, like
fantastic.
everything is impermanent. You can't have impermanence and not have change. Like this doesn't make any sense. Although
Is there
that's par for the course.
is there impermanence? What is this if
There
it's
is
not
not
labeled
impermanence, and yet
impermanent?
all things are impermanent.
Hmm. What is this if it's not labeled impermanence?
But labeling it doesn't change it one way or the other.
Is it permanent?
Is permanence impermanent permanent? Is that what you just asked?
I just asked if it was permanent.
I do not know.
Hmm. So you don't know if it's permanent. Is it impermanent?
I don't know.
Hmm.
But I don't. That doesn't bother me.
Hmm. Is this neither permanent nor impermanent?
No.
Hmm. Is this both permanent and impermanent?
That's the only thing that, when giving it space to breathe, that's the only thing that rings true.
Hmm.
That is both. Again, that doesn't really make sense, but
Does impermanence, the concept of impermanence, make any sense without the concept of permanence?
no.
It doesn't, does it? They completely depend on each other.
Which is why it doesn't fit in a paradigm of non-duality.
And they're both straight up concepts.
That tracks. This is a very, it feels very challenging when your entire existence is based on using your intellect to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I work as a knowledge worker
Mm-hmm.
and a consultant. Like, it is such a shift.
Mm. Is there anything to figure out here, Raymond?
The only, no, I don't believe there's anything to figure out. Well, other than who you are.
Hmm.
I think there's only one. That is the thing I've come to conclude, is that there is all of these questions about whether or not there is a God, or all of this stuff is just distraction from the one question, which is, who am I?
Mm-hmm. And who is going to figure out who they are?
But you don't figure it out, you just experience it.
Yes, Sarisha. Lovely to have you.
Pleasure.
Take care.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
What time is it there?
9:30.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it's 10.
Wow.
And who's going to figure that out?
Who you are?
Yeah.
Well, I don't. The only thing to figure out is that you are not.
Who's going to do that?
To be realized, not figured out.
Who's going to realize it?
I don't know.
And what is there to realize?
You've been living a lie. I joke, but to an extent, that's what it feels like.
Where is there to go from here, Raymond?
Nowhere. And that
And where are you?
everywhere.
It's funny. That's like the second time today. I had a really good inkling how the person was going to respond. That's starting to happen now for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I'm asking questions that make those responses more likely, but who knows?
Maybe it's the speed stick.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
So there's this recurring thought. It feels like almost like a clickbait article that just keeps running through my brain. It's like, so you're everything, now what? Like, it's like, but then it's, well, who wants to do something with it? Like, it's this perpetual feeling like you're crossing a bridge from one side to another over and over and over again.
Yeah, what next?
See what happens. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not in any way a natural feeling thing, but
Where is the Raymond that makes stuff happen?
the Raymond that makes stuff happen is really just a concept programmed by the outside world.
Is there a Raymond that makes stuff happen?
Well, no, because there is no outside world.
Is there a Raymond?
Not as near as I can tell. Again, that triggers, okay, now what? The ego just keeps creeping up. I believe in thinking that that feeling of a lack of trust, that the authentic me can handle a broken or what feels like a world living in unawareness.
Is there a world living in unawareness?
Well, now that we say it that way. No, these are the ramblings of my brain as I speak to myself, and it feels, I think that's one of the things that hits different, is that when you say something out loud, it registers very different.
Yeah. Raymond, where is enlightenment?
No, there is no enlightenment.
Where is it?
It doesn't exist.
Hmm. I mean, it's just a word, right?
Yeah, but words are all just pointing to something that they're not the thing.
Mm-hmm. Where is this?
And there is no this.
Nope. There isn't.
Never have I felt. I think there's a Taoist saying about letting the mud settle before, I'm guessing before responding, and never have I felt that happening in real time. Like just the noise of thoughts. I know there's no rising and falling, but that, there's the sensation of thoughts coming and going and getting very intense and then just being not.
Mm-hmm. Now what, Raymond?
The only thing that comes to mind is that we just see what happens. Like everything that is telling me to do something or looking for that next thing to do is starting to feel more foreign.
It's odd, isn't it?
And yeah, it's not. It's almost like the concept of straightening up the hooks. They're just not hooking in the same way that they did. And this feels like an absence of this adversarial presence to the concept that is Raymond.
Just another concept, right? No biggie if it's there.
Exactly. So this is a funny thing. Without the wisdom of impermanence, I don't know that I pushed through to get to that other side.
Is there another side?
There's none of this. Like,
is there anything beyond this, Raymond? No. This is it, man. It's always been it.
is there anything within this?
Tell me.
Yes and no.
Hmm. Has there ever been a self, Raymond?
But so there hasn't been a separate anything. It all just is.
Has it ever not been like that?
I don't know. But I don't care. So that's another question. That's almost like, does God exist? I don't know. It's beyond my purview.
Where is the past right now, Raymond?
Past is just thoughts. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It is not.
Mm-hmm. What about the future? Where's the future?
Same thing. It's just thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
There's only those.
So has there ever been a self in the past?
Oh. Well, ipso facto, I believe that would be hard to do. So, yeah, gotcha. No.
And can that be said definitively?
Pardon?
Can that be said definitively?
I don't know that much can be said definitively, but if there is no past, there cannot be a self from it. So, yes, while I'm reticent to be absolute, I would say yes.
Yeah. So has there ever been a self, Raymond?
No.
No, there hasn't been.
So what is this feeling of I that is everything?
Mm.
Is it just a relic from the concept of Raymond?
What is it that observes that feeling?
Mhm. So that feels like the unmanifest. And that feels from which the I springs forth. But due to our prior conversation, we've already determined that that's not happening. And it feels like it's happening in every second and every moment of every day, this creation, be it thoughts or matter or any of this stuff.
And is that unmanifest the same or different than the manifest?
It's all part of the same consciousness.
Yeah.
But things start to feel like they shift rather drastically as you start to see and feel that that is also part of what you are or are not. Because it feels like Raymond is only the concepts, and existence is beyond that.
And is existence also a concept?
When you say it that way, yeah.
What about non-existence?
Well, it's intrinsically tied to existence. Damn you, words. So,
tell me, Raymond,
what is tell me that I need to just stop. Well, actually, it's been telling me this for a long time. We just need to stop taking words so seriously. Which is, autistics are inherently literal. So it is a very, it is fraught with friction. Ooh, we are close to time here.
Do you have any other questions?
No, well, no, one. So I wanted to put a pause in this particular dynamic and offer any services. I'm a tech consultant.
Oh, okay.
So anything and any sort of issues you're running into, like you're doing this for free, and I fully support what you're doing. So if there's anything that I can help you with and what you're trying to do or anything else you're trying to do to help supplement this, I'd love to pitch in, just because I think you're doing tremendous work here.
Oh,
or
thank
tremendous
you.
work is being done.
What kind of tech consultant?
So I am what they call a generalist. Basically, I go in and figure everything out really quickly. Right now, I'm working in marketing automation platforms, CRMs, but I also do websites. Basically, I work on integrating all of the stuff so it all works together. Basically, so systems speak to each other. Yeah, just anything you need, happy to pitch in because you have been very helpful.
Oh, well, thank you for the offer. I appreciate it. Do you work with particular types of clients?
I work with medium-sized to enterprise companies.
Okay.
But mostly decent size.
And are you working remotely, or do you work with those in Maine? You work remotely?
I work remotely, yep.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the offer. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and like I said, if you ever want to do a one-on-one, feel free to just schedule something. You'll find all the scheduling info on my website.
Okay. I know a few other people who will. I think your way of pointing out, I think it just hits in the way of the universe providing, I guess. Like it just, have not really worked, but I've had it happen with other people and it didn't come off the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's in different places at every time. So,
Yeah.
but I would definitely, I've said this on LinkedIn, and I would say to anybody, and I would also, if you would like me to write a review or anything like that, like I would absolutely recommend you to anybody.
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to, if you feel like there are people that would benefit from working with me, invite you to send them my info or whatever you think's best. Yeah, and if you want to write a review or something, feel free to do that. Yeah, I think I have 4 or 5 testimonials on my website right now. So there's definitely room for more. So yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, just getting back to work.
Well, it's great chatting with you.
Pleasure.